again, -29. No return for Albert Vasquez, 10-3 of 87, break. 28 by Ben returns to a gray 99 Dodge. No plate, no expiration to her. Tabitha out of Albuquerque, -29. TV stand 1. Yeah, TV stand 1. What did it, can you let them know the message just came in on Vancouver? Thank you.
This is the second long pause, I believe.
We have a female advising that there was a brown Durango with an SUV, and they stole the female's truck, unknown direction of travel. Someone was hit in the middle of the road. Copy, Gray Dodge Durango officer down. Starting yes. Unit.
910-1, we unit to Foxhole, please. We've got about 7 minutes coming your way. Do you have a direction of travel? You got another unit that's
All right, so some of that was pretty confusing, so let's unpack it. So whenever they're calling out numbers, what does that mean?
It's your MAD number is what the radio or dispatch, they provide you. So when you call your dispatch center, so my MAD number at the time was 172. So when they call, they know what officer is calling you. Each individual officer, sergeant, lieutenant, all the way up to chief, they have a designated number for the radio call sign.
And what number was Officer Benner?
He was 163.
And so, do you recall what the first thing we heard on the audio was when he called in?
When the citizen?
No, whenever Officer Benner called in.
Right. The first thing you can hear is Officer Benner. He's trying to run the plate, and that's when the dispatcher at the time said there was no return on the plate and there was no history with the plate. So we have a CAD system separate that has, if we have any history with anything, we'll have a CAD on it. So you could hear him asking for her to run the plate to make sure it wasn't his computer that was messing up, and to see if we had any history with that vehicle and that plate.
And then later on, you can hear the dispatcher speaking to him, and what was that about?
You can hear him. He runs a male name, and then he runs a female's driver's license number as well.
And what was the dispatcher's response to him about those names?
He didn't get she didn't get a return on the male's name. She did get a return on the female's name.
Okay. We heard other call signs coming in. Why is that?
Well, we all have one channel. So in Rio Rancho, there was one channel at the time. So there's multiple officers working. So when you heard 165, he was on a crash, so it was separate. Then you could hear my man number, which was 172, and that's when I conducted a traffic stop on the vehicle. So all the traffic throughout the city, unless we can do channel 1 or channel 3, but for the most part, we keep it on channel 1. So you'll hear other officers in other scenes.
So at one point, there was a voice on there that you didn't recognize, correct?
Yes.
And what did you think whenever you heard that?
At first, I thought that maybe it was fake because we had a couple instances where people were able to get a hold of our portable radios and they were doing fake officer down calls. I remember one specifically. But that ended pretty quick, that thought, because when I looked down in our cars on our radios, it shows who's talking. It'll show your man number. So when I looked down on my radio, I could see it was 163, and I knew it wasn't fake from there.
And what did you do from there?
I gave the driver that I pulled over back his license and all his paperwork, and then I ran code 3 to the scene.
Code 3, what does that mean?
With your lights and your sirens.
And did you go to the scene?
Yes.
And what did you do from there?
Right when I was pulling up to the scene, that's when Sergeant Brian Thackeray, he's like, everybody else, there's enough people here, and he told all of us to go and just take off and attempt to locate the vehicle that had left the scene.
And where did you go?
I went westbound on Southern, and I went all the way to Unser, and then I went southbound on Unser into the Albuquerque city limits, looking for that vehicle.
And what did you find?
I didn't locate anything.
What did you do next?
After that, I went right back to the scene.
Okay. And once you got there, what did you see?
By that time, Nigel was being transported to the hospital. So I saw his unit. I saw his duty belt. I saw blood. And there's other officers there as well.
Were there any other agencies there?
At the time I got there, no. But shortly after, multiple agencies started showing up.
Okay, multiple agencies. Who do you mean?
Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office showed up, Albuquerque Police Department, and I believe State Police showed up rather quick.
Okay. Who did you talk to there?
I don't recall exactly who I talked to.
And what did you do after that?
Because at the time I was a field investigator, which we collect evidence, I had a really nice camera at the time, a quality camera, so I immediately just started snapping photographs and taking as many photos as I can.
Okay. Why?
It's just, when you first get there, you want to collect, remember how the scene was at the time. So from my training and experience, one of the most important things you can do is just go there and take as many photographs as you can.
Okay. So what all did you photograph?
I initially photographed Nigel's police unit, both exterior, interior, some overall shots of the scene, and then I took a photograph of his lapel camera.
Okay, let's take these ones at a time. So, Your Honor, I would like to bring up what's been previously stipulated to and admitted as State's Exhibit 115 through 122, and you can find those, Officer Kraniak, in the book. We're going to start with picture 116. Thank you. You might be pretty far back in the book.
Pretty far back. You said 116, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay.
And is that one of the photographs that you took?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what is it depicting?
That's the front of his police vehicle, and he had a personalized plate with his man numbers on the front.
Okay, and remind us again what that number is.
It was 163.
And let's go back to 115. And what are we looking at here?
You're looking at his police unit once again, and it's his driver's side door that is open.
And what's the significance in taking photographs like this?
It just shows how his vehicle was left when he came to, when officers got to the scene.
And we're going to photograph 117. Do you recognize this one?
Yes.
Is there anything significant that stands out in this picture?
You can see a corner of the driver's license, a New Mexico driver's license, in the bottom left of the floor panel.
Okay. From here we're going to go to picture 120. Tell us what we're looking at here.
In photograph 120, you're looking at the driver's license of Tabitha Littles, which is what in that previous picture was on the, you can see the rest of her driver's license. That's where it was located in the vehicle.
Okay, so which side of the car was this on?
The driver's side.
And where exactly within the vehicle was it?
It was right on the driver's side of the vehicle, right on the floor.
Next we're going to picture 118. And what are we looking at here?
You're looking at another interior photograph of his police unit. You can see his computer, and you can see some of his paperwork and other items of his.
Okay. And from there we're going to picture 119. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, and what are we looking at here?
It's just a bigger overall photograph of his interior vehicle, where you can see that his computer, which we called NDTs.
Let's see, where is the message from dispatch?
You can see it. It's in the top left corner of the photograph.
Oh,
I guess if you're looking at it from the bottom up.
Okay. And what's the significance about this being on his computer?
You can just, essentially it just provides you information. So it just shows that where he was pulling over the vehicle, or the area that the vehicle was pulled in.
All right. Now we're going to picture 122. Okay, so you indicated that it shows that he's on a call at 3301 Southern Boulevard, correct?
Correct.
And where is that?
It's sometimes, well, they list it, so for CAD purposes, you can see under the section where it says common, it lists the Albertsons, so that's the address of the Albertsons. Sometimes if we're in a certain area, we'll just list the closest business or two. So if officers do need to go there for assistance, they can just look on your computer and they go, okay, he's, Officer Benner was right by the Albertsons, or the listed intersection of Southern and Country Club. It's not always perfect, but it gets you in the general area.
Okay. So now on photo 122, what are we looking at here?
So on photograph 122, we have a separate program. We have this thing called New Mexico Leads. It's what we use to run all the information as far as name and date of birth, driver's license, article searches. It's for our purposes. We can put somebody's information up and get their return, which gives us their descriptors, their eye color, height, weight, and generally it'll provide a driver's license photograph so we know the person's telling the truth about who they are.
So who was the person that was pulled up on this screen?
So the person that was pulled up on the screen is whatever Officer Benner was trying to run. So the Albert Fresquez, the date of birth, and the fact that he was a male. So that's the information that he typed into the computer to run. So that's the name that somebody would have gave him.
And can you tell what would have returned from this screen?
It says right on the very top, under it says New Mexico Hot Files, it says no match. Generally, that means that there was no return for the provided name and date of birth.
Okay. All right. And then you said that you had also taken some photos around the scene, correct?
Yes.
And that you had taken some photos of the lapel.
Yes.
And why did you do that?
Because we wanted to collect the lapel for evidence, and we were going to look at the lapel to see if we could get any suspect information, because it's like a little video camera, and we were hoping that at that time Officer Benner was running it, so maybe we could catch something and go from there and be like, okay, we're looking for this subject, and at least we would have a face or something like that.
Okay, but you photographed it.
Yes, I did photograph it.
And what was the purpose of photographing it?
Just to make sure that when they collected it to look at it, that they knew exactly where it was before it was touched.
And what happened after it was checked?
After one of the detectives checked it?
Yes.
They found that the only footage that was on there, I believe, was footage from Red River, New Mexico.
What happened to the actual part that they picked up off the ground?
I'm not sure what actually, somebody collected it.
Oh, okay. So you photographed it and then it was collected.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Your Honor, may I have just a moment? And officer, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you think would be important for the jury to know?
Objection, that's leading and inappropriate. Just stated.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, officer.
Good afternoon.
So I think I'll be brief. So you had a chance to listen to that audio, the dispatch audio, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you've had several opportunities before today to listen to that dispatch audio, correct?
I've listened to it a couple times.
And do you have any reason to believe that that's not an exact replica or an exact duplicate of the dispatch audio on the day Officer Benner was killed?
Can you repeat the question?
Do you have any reason to believe that is not an exact duplicate of the dispatch recording on the day Officer Benner was killed?
No.
Okay. And the way these audio dispatches, it's all computer driven, is it not?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, when you hear the voice of the dispatcher on the radio, there's also generally being information put it into a computer, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's generally done in real time, right?
Yes, sir.
Because when we saw, I think it was Exhibit 122, there's information being returned to the officer's computer, right?
Correct.
Okay. And do you have any reason to believe that the times on the returns are not real times or weren't being done in real time?
No, sir.
Okay. So when we saw, could you pull up Exhibit 122, please? So officer, take a look at Exhibit 122 either on your screen or if you look at that, officer, it looks like the return for Albert Fresquez. It looks like the request for information contained on within Exhibit number 122. The request for information goes out at 20:06 and 18 seconds, right?
That's what it appears.
Okay. Now, for those of us who weren't in the service and aren't totally familiar with military time, can you tell the jury what 20:06 and 18 seconds is in regular 12-hour time?
About 8 o'clock, 8:06 p.m.
Okay.
and 18.
Okay, so can we assume, based on your previous testimony, that these returns are done in real time, that 8:06 and 18 seconds reflects generally the correct time that the request was done by Officer Benner to dispatch?
Yes.
Okay, and the return on Albert Fresquez came back at about 8:07 and 17 seconds, right?
I don't recall.
Well, can you look at the document? May I approach the witness, Judge? Just to point it out to him? Yes. Okay. Right here, it's in a different
Oh, you're
color.
seeing,
So
you're
it's
looking at the left?
Yeah, it's in a different, so you see when it goes out and then when it comes back,
Correct.
okay? So after having pointed that out to you on your exhibit in front of you on the photograph, am I correct on those times?
Yes.
Okay. And again, you have no reason to believe that those aren't real time and date stamps on the day of this incident, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. And what the return from dispatch was that nobody by the name of Albert Fresquez came back, right?
Correct.
Okay. But a name did come back, right? A name, you heard the dispatch. A name of Tabitha Littles was returned based on date of birth that was given to Officer Benner, presumably, right?
Correct. The information he got from the driver's license.
And typically, we've all been pulled over by the police, but most of us have never been in the police vehicle when our information is run. And so I think this is how it happens, that if I give the police officer my license and registration, they go back to the car, and they type it in, date of birth, license number, and they wait for what you've called a return, right?
Correct.
To make sure maybe I don't have a fake driver's license or something?
Correct. That's one way of doing it.
Okay. And you have no way of knowing exactly how it was done in this situation, but somehow dispatch received the information from Officer Benner, right? And
Yes.
Yes.
okay. And we've seen a photograph of Tabitha Little's driver's license inside Officer Benner's police unit, right?
Yes.
Okay. And the information received from dispatch returned some information that we heard on the audio exhibit, correct?
Correct.
And if I'm not mistaken, the return by dispatch was that Tabitha Littles was on probation for, and if I recall correctly, I think they said armed robbery, right?
I don't recall exactly what the return was, but I remember the probation.
Well, shall we play it again to refresh your recollection? Would that help?
Yes.
Okay. I think it's in about 4 minutes.
Custody, armed robbery with a deadly weapon, trafficking, possession of controlled substance.
I'm asking the technician to go back in 15 seconds.
172.
Oh yeah, one sign is 528 and 72 latitude. They sold for one escape.
10 for latitude. First 27 for a Tabitha Littles is going to be validated 29. She was going to be on probation for escape from community custody, armed robbery with a deadly weapon, trafficking, possession of controlled substance, concealing ID, and a few more charges. Again, negative 29. No return for Albert Fresquez.
All right. So does that refresh your recollection as to the accurate description of at least what dispatch had on Tabitha Littles?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, but at no time during any of these recordings was the name Andrew Romero mentioned at all, right?
No, sir.
Okay. Now, there was another interesting thing on the dispatch. Do you recall hearing previously during, when you were, as you say, running code 3 to get to the scene, were you listening to the dispatch traffic?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Do you have an independent recollection of the dispatch talking about a woman saying that her car had been stolen or she'd been carjacked, I think?
Yes, that was part of the information that was
Okay.
relayed.
And you heard that over the radio, correct?
Yes.
And did you receive any additional information regarding who the female was that was saying that she had that someone had stolen her car?
I don't recall.
Okay. And you didn't hear that during the course of the radio traffic on your way to the scene?
I don't recall.
You don't remember if you heard it?
Yeah, I don't recall.
Okay. But you do remember hearing on this audio exhibit that the dispatcher relaying that a woman at the scene had indicated that her vehicle had been stolen, right?
Yes, sir.
And that was further clarified that it was a Dodge Durango that had indeed been stolen, correct?
Yes, sir.
Officer, if you know this, could you explain to the jury, if you know, what escape from CCP is?
I don't know.
You don't know, you don't know that term?
No, sir.
Okay, all right, very good. Pass the witness, Sean.
So on Exhibit 122, where defense is bringing up the time that's listed, do you remember that, or are you looking at it?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay. So what we know is that Officer Benner ran this information prior to calling it into dispatch, correct?
I haven't looked at the actual dispatch times for the CAD, but that could have happened. He could have ran in his computer beforehand and then called it in.
Okay. Would that explain?
Objection is called for speculation. Judge said he doesn't know. If you know, answer.
Thank you, Your Honor. So is it possible that the times on here are listed this way because he ran it prior?
Yes.
Thank you. And dispatch did come back with the name Tabitha Littles.
Yes.
And why did it come back with Tabitha Littles?
Most likely because when the female provided Officer Benner the driver's license, which was found on the ground or on the floorboard of his vehicle.
And so did she provide, what did she provide him that caused it to come back correctly?
An actual driver's license, a valid driver's license.
And why would the name that he provided not come back?
Most likely he didn't have a driver's license. So they provided one verbal.
Who is he?
That's fine, Your Honor. Who are you talking about when you say he didn't have a driver's license?
The male subject that Nigel was trying to run.
And based on what you heard, what did Officer Benner provide to dispatch?
Name and date of birth.
And did that come back?
No, it did not.
And why would it not come back, do you think?
It could be a false name, a fictitious name, false date of birth.
And based on your training and experience, is that common to happen when somebody provides something false like that?
Yes.
May I have a moment, Your Honor? No further questions.
Good afternoon. Officer, could you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
My name is Officer Gabriel Sanchez.
And where do you work?
I work at the City of Rio Rancho as a police officer.
How long have you been working with the Rio Rancho Police Department?
5 years.
And did you have any prior law enforcement experience before that?
No, ma'am.
So what are your current duties at Rio Rancho PD?
My current assignment is patrol, general calls for service.
And do you all have to work shifts, different kinds of shifts?
Yes, currently I'm assigned to swing shift, which is Monday to Thursday shift, 3 to 1 in the morning.
Okay. I want to take you back to May of 2015, May 25th specifically of 2015. Do you recall that day?
I do.
Were you working that day?
I was.
What shift were you scheduled to work?
I was working weekdays graveyard, which is 2,000 hours to 600 hours in the morning.
And it's 2000, 8 o'clock p.m.?
8 o'clock p.m., correct.
Take us through, what is the normal routine when you go into work? Do you report in, and then what happens?
Yes, when 8 p.m. rolls around, I respond to the station at 500 Quantum Road for a briefing. We get briefed on the prior day's activities and what we need to accomplish for that day.
Okay. And did that happen on that day, May 25th, 2015?
Yes.
Okay. And what happened after the briefing?
After the briefing, we were walking out, and I was having words with Sergeant Thacker, who is my supervisor, just talking. And we heard a radio transmission of an officer shot.
And what went through your mind when you heard that, Officer Sanchez?
I froze. I remember looking at Sergeant Thacker, just trying to comprehend what we just heard. And then we heard it again. Officer shot, officer shot.
Did you recognize the voice?
I did not at the time.
Did you have any information at that point about who had been shot?
No.
So after you heard that, what did you do?
That time, along with the other officers that were in the station, I ran to my car. And as I was running, I turned on my lapel cam.
Okay. Any particular reason why you turned on your lapel cam?
Just given the magnitude of the call and what we just heard, I didn't know what was about to unfold, so I felt better safe than sorry to start it.
Did you turn it on immediately when you got into your car?
Yes.
Or your vehicle?
Yes, I did.
And what was your understanding of where the location was that the officer had been, that there was an officer down?
I understood that it was somewhere off of Southern by Post Office, which I'm familiar with that location. It is my beat area, the area that I patrol. And I remember activating my emergency equipment and following several police cars out of the station.
Did you go directly to the scene?
Yes.
About how long did it take you to get there?
I would guesstimate 3 minutes. I was driving pretty fast.
What was going through your mind when you were driving there?
There was a lot. I didn't know who it was. I don't know how bad it was. All I knew was that I couldn't get there fast enough.
When you got to the scene, did you discover, in fact, who it was that had been shot?
Yes, I got out of my patrol car. I started walking up and I saw Unit 240, and I recognized that as Nigel's unit, and at which time I started just running to where everybody was at.
Okay, and just to clarify again, is Nigel a nickname for Officer Benner?
It is.
Before we get to your actions at the scene, I want to just ask you a little bit about your relationship with Officer Benner. How well did you know Officer Benner?
Officer Benner, Nigel was a friend at work, helped him build a shed at his house. We talked, always wanted to go out, and he was into motorsports. He was into snowmobiles, he was into dirt bikes.
I'm sorry, so you spent time with him off the job as well as on the job?
Yes.
Okay. And did you ever go on any calls with him?
Yes, several.
Can you give the jury an idea of what kind of, how was Officer Benner with the public when he would respond to a call?
He was a great guy. Everybody knew Nigel. I mean, everybody. Even the people that he came across, took him to jail, he would always say, hey, how's Nigel? You know, how's Greg? Just overall, great guy. Very professional.
Did you ever see him get, in your opinion, aggressive with anyone that he had stopped?
No.
How did you actually meet Nigel? I mean, obviously on the job, but did you meet him, did you go to the academy with him or anything?
No, Nigel was actually one academy class before me.
Okay.
And Nigel, like all the rest of everybody coming on the department, knew he always introduced himself as Nigel. Nigel Bloke, that's what he said.
What was his...
Nigel Bloke is what he said. He said, my name's Nigel Bloke. And just that's how everybody met him. He introduced himself.
All right, now, Officer Sanchez, I want to take you back to that night. First of all, do you have an idea of what time approximately it was when you arrived at the scene?
I'm going to say it was approximately 8:15, 8:20.
Your shift, did you say your shift started at 8?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you got there, could you describe what you saw?
When I got on scene, there was a crowd of people around him, around Nigel laying on the floor, and I just remember just telling everybody move, just yelling, move, move, and got down next to Nigel and I started yelling his name. I mean, I don't know how many times I yelled Nigel, over and over. A lot of blood on my hands, a lot of blood everywhere. And
Okay, Officer Sanchez, did you keep your lapel cam running the entire time that you were at the scene?
yes.
Your Honor, at this time I would ask to play State's Exhibit 419, which has been stipulated to. It's approximately 11 minutes long. Officer Sanchez, is that your vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're driving that vehicle?
Yes, ma'am.
could pause it right there, please. Before we continue watching the lapel cam, I wanted to ask you, Officer Sanchez, does that video accurately reflect, as you recall, the daylight and the lighting that was, the lighting at that time when you drove to the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead, continue.
Yeah. Shoulder and the leg. Okay. No pulse. No pulse. No pulse. No pulse. Are you fucking kidding me? Go! 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 Let's go!
It looks like, for the record, we paused the recording. Officer Sanchez, it looks like you're getting something out of the trunk of your vehicle?
Yes.
What were you doing there?
Instructed by Sergeant Thacker to get yellow tape to tape off the scene.
Okay. Officer Sanchez, where was that, where did you go at that scene? I'm sorry, the location that you went to, what county, city and state is that in?
State of Mexico, County of Sandoval, City of Rio Rancho.
And on the video, we can see that we see your efforts to assist in trying to render aid to Officer Benner. Were you able to observe his wounds?
Yes, there's a lot of blood coming from his leg and his left shoulder.
Okay. In the shoulder in the front or the back?
It was in the back.
Okay. And where about the other wound?
The other wound, Officer Samuel was tending to.
Okay. And then after Officer Benner was loaded onto the gurney and taken away by the EMT crew, can see some activity that you begin to do at the scene. Can you describe for the jury what that was about?
Yes, after Nigel was transported, I just kicked into a different gear. I knew that it was a crime scene and that I had to jump into investigator mode and just start doing my job, just collecting evidence, I was instructed by Sergeant Thacker to shut off the scene. With the help of Officer Garcia, I was able to string off the area that we were at and start pulling witnesses aside and interviewing them one at a time.
I heard some voices, and I'm not sure if it was your voice or not, asking people if they had seen anything. Who was that?
That was me.
And then I think we heard you say you were moving them, you were giving them direction to move somewhere?
Yes, I was, as I can remember from the academy, we were instructed to take any witness from any incident and segregate them to a certain area so we can interview them. It's a process.
When you say segregate, what do you mean by that?
I mean, we take them out from the original location and put them to somewhere we can interview them individually on their own.
And when you interviewed them, how close were they to the other witnesses?
The crime scene originally was fairly small. I would say they were within 3 arm lengths of each other.
Okay. When you said that your investigation mode or what you had learned kicked in, did you know at that point what Officer Benner's condition was?
No, I did not.
Okay. And what was that like, having to go right into investigator mode after just having tended to Officer Benner?
It's hard because one track of my mind is talking to these people while I'm still thinking about Nigel. I mean, I think it stuck with me for a long time. Just thinking how he is, I don't even know where he went. All I knew is that when I was talking to them and after the scene, I looked down at my hand and there was Nigel's blood on my hands, and it's really, really hard. It was a hard experience.
And then you did, in fact, conduct several interviews right at the scene, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Other than conducting interviews and, I guess, did you also help put up the crime scene tape? Or was that task given to somebody else?
I started it, but Officer Garcia took over.
Okay. After you conducted the interviews, were you assigned any other tasks at the scene?
I was just assigned security perimeter, watching the immediate scene. There was a lot of commotion going on, so I was just trying to pick up any loose ends that I was given at that point.
What about, was there a crime scene log being kept?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain to the jury what a crime scene log is and what the purpose is?
A crime scene log is a piece of paper that what you do is an officer's tasked to have one entry, one exit point of the crime scene. Every officer that exits and enters is logged onto a sheet with their name and the time that they came in, the time they left. And this is conducted so we can track who was at the scene, at what time, and when.
Thank you, Officer. I have no other questions at this time.
No questions, Your Honor.
Is this officer subject to recall?
Not by the state, Your Honor.
You may remain in the courtroom.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Let's take a 10-15 minute recess at this time.
All rise.